Alright, everything is looking good here. Hello everyone! Artemu the Violet Wizard here. And today we are continuing Pokémon FireRed. Last time, we managed to win our first gym battle against Brock and managed to make our way through Mount Moon, eventually arriving here in Cerulean City. So yep, the FireRed Nuzlocke is definitely going pretty well so far. We haven't had any fatalities yet. We are already in the second major town of the game. Yeah, this is pretty good progress so far. So before we begin exploring the town and getting to see some of the other stuff that we're going to be doing in this session, I want to quickly show that in between sessions, I decided to grind up the team a little bit just to make sure that everyone would be as powerful as we need to for this session. And progress so far is pretty good. Everyone's looking pretty strong at level 16. And in the process of getting to level 16, Bulbo, our starter Pokemon, is now an Ivysaur. Cool, that means I'm playable in Smash Bros. Ultimate. That you are, buddy. So with that evolution, Bulbo's stats are going to be much higher. And just overall going to be a better team member. So yeah, when it comes to evolution and Nuzlocke runs, typically you'll want to get your Pokemon evolved as soon as possible because the stat bonuses can be really beneficial. As well as the fact that some Pokemon can completely change their typing when they evolve. But there are some instances where it is preferable to keep your Pokemon in their base stage, as Pokemon will learn attacks much faster in their earlier stages than their later ones. So that's one advantage to keeping your Pokemon unevolved. Alright, but with that said, we're pretty much done our preparations we need for this session. So, just want to quickly look over some of the stuff we have. Yeah, we'll definitely want to take a trip over to the store in a bit. Just want to quickly show here the Cerulean City Pokemon Gym Leader, Misty, the tomboyish mermaid. So we could technically go and fight the gym leader right now, but we are not prepared for that. Want to make sure our team is nice and strong before we go in there. You're a trainer too? Collecting, battling, it's a tough life, isn't it? That it is, especially when you're running the kind of roles I'm doing. Let's head into the Cerulean Mart here, because we picked up a star piece when we were going through Mount Moon. And we can sell that for a lot of money. Almost $5,000 just by selling that one item. And we can't do anything for the Moonstone, but we are going to sell our Revive. Since this is a Nuzlocke run, those items are functionally useless to us. But they can still give us a little bit of money, which is always good because we need items for our supplies here. Just gonna buy a few more Pokeballs because we do have some catches we can do before the next gym. And I want to grab some Super Potions. These are some pretty good healing items that are much better than the regular potion, being able to restore 50 points of HP. So that is definitely going to be very good for us. As we go forward in this game, our Pokemon will obviously get more HP, so being able to keep our team well stocked on items is also going to be very imperative here. So you never know, we could end up in a situation where the battle could be completely decided based on the items that we have in our inventory. Also just want to move around a few things just to just make sure everything is organized around here the way I want it to be. And I think it'd be good to swap some of these items closer to the top of our key items bag, just so they're easier to reach without needing to scroll all the way down. And of course, Pokeballs we don't need to worry about. So that is looking good. Slowbro, withdraw! No, that's wrong! It's so hard to control Pokemon. Your Pokemon's obedience depends on your abilities as a trainer. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well when it comes to ordering our Pokemon around. Too much time, too little to do. Is nothing entertaining happening anywhere? Oh, trust me, in this day and age, there is no shortage of entertainment, whether we like it or not. I want a bright red bicycle. I'll keep it at home so it won't get dirty. So over here we got ourselves a bike shop. A plain city bike is good enough for me. After all, you can't put a shopping basket on a mountain bike. These bikes are cool, but they're way expensive. So I actually really like biking myself, though I haven't really done it in a few years. But I'll probably get into it sometime soon. Hi, welcome to our bike shop. And we got just the bike for you. $1 million just to buy a bicycle. What is the economy in this region? Yeah, we are not going to be able to buy that. You're making an encyclopedia on Pokemon. Sounds amusing. But perhaps later on we'll eventually acquire the means of being able to get a bicycle for a lot cheaper. If that Slowbro wasn't there, you could cut down the small tree. That way you get to the other side. I think there's a way around it, though. Yeah, definitely hinting at some things that we'll eventually be able to do. But we're gonna hold off on talking about that until a bit later. My husband likes trading Pokemon. You're collecting Pokemon for your Pokedex, aren't you? Would you please trade with him? All depends on what he's got. Hello there, do you happen to have a Poliwhirl? Would you agree to a trade for my Jinx? So this opens up a new possibility for building your team that could definitely be quite interesting when doing a Nuzlocke run, and that is in-game trades. So obviously you're limited to which Pokemon you're able to catch throughout the region, but there are ways to acquire exclusive Pokemon that cannot be found anywhere else in the game, and that is by trades. Now you do need to capture a specific Pokemon in order to be able to trade it for an NPC's Pokemon, so that could be tricky, but it's still a nice way to be able to acquire new allies to help you on your journey. In the case of what we have here in Cerulean City, yeah, Jinx is quite an interesting Pokemon, being an Ice Psychic type, so it is really great offensively. However, you do need to watch out because it has low HP and low physical defense. But it is still a very powerful Pokemon. It can be really good to you when used in the right situations. The people here were robbed. It's obvious that Team Rocket is behind this most heinous crime. Even our police force has trouble with the Rockets. It definitely explains why these guys are able to just roam freely about. They're just such troublemakers. Alright, so with everything taken care of around town, I think we are good to move on and see what else we can do. I very quickly want to make note that we are going to lead with Wilma before we go into this area for a very specific reason. Alright, let's go forward. Yo, Hayden! You're still struggling along back here? I'm doing great! I caught a bunch of strong and smart Pokemon. Here, let me see what you caught, Hayden. Let's got ourselves another battle with our rival. If we didn't fight him back on Route 22, then this would be our second battle with our rival. This time, his team is definitely looking a lot more formidable. He's evolved his Pidgey into a Pidgeotto, so this thing is going to be much stronger than last time. So we're just going to go for the Rock Tomb and try to deal as much damage to this thing as we can. Also want to briefly mention that while training, Wilma learned a new attack called Magnitude, which is a ground-type move, so obviously not going to be useful against Pidgeotto. But it's still a pretty good one. Alright, we soften you up with a Rock Tomb, so let's go for Mega Punch. Should be enough to finish this flyer. Oh, come on. You got this, Wilma. Just gotta... Yeah, we still gotta worry about the sand attack from this thing, but we should be good. Yep, there goes Pidgeotto. Gives a lot of experience to Wilma. Like I mentioned before, more evolved Pokemon will give more experience, so watch out for that. So now he's going for his Charmander, which is something that should be evolved right now, but hasn't. So we're going to go for the Magnitude and get to show this off. Oh, it's got Metal Claw. That is really nasty, and it got a critical hit too. Alright, going for magnitude 5, and it missed because of the sand attack. Okay, we definitely need to switch out. This thing could be brutal. Can't go for Bulbo because that thing has fire attacks. Let's see what we got in terms of our defenses with this team. I think Khalifa's probably going to be our best bet against this Charmander. Let's go to Khalifa, and... oh man, it would be so embarrassing if we lost our Geodude like at the start of this session. That would just be brutal. But yeah, you do need to watch out for Charmander here, because it does have Metal Claw, as that is added to its movesets to give it a bit of an edge against Rock. Obviously, not enough here. Okay. Yeah, this thing is definitely going to give us trouble. It may be unevolved, but its stats are still pretty good. Alright, Khalifa's been definitely taking a lot of hits here. So I think I want to go for Rosie. I think we've got the next best special defense. There's the Metal Claw again. Really need to be careful here. Alright, we can just go for the quick attack, and this should be good. Okay. Okay. Let's heal up with a potion. Just need to make sure we are able to do this as best as we can. Alright, another quick attack. Alright, one more hit should do it. Go! Oh, that sucks! So Charmander's ability is Blaze, which means its fire attacks get stronger when it is below a third of its max HP. And so its Ember attack was able to take out Rosie. Oh, that sucks! So yep, that is our first fatality here. Whiskers, take it out. God, that was rough. There's nothing more we can do here but just try to get through this fight as best we can. Next up, he's going to be sending out an Abra. This thing is pretty much 3 experience points. It's very fast and has high special attack, but its only move that it has is Teleport, which doesn't do damage, making it completely useless. And last is Rattata. Already had a lot of experience with these rodents. Just try to have Whiskers do as much damage as we can with the Hyper Fang, and then we can finish you a quick attack. There we go. God. Hey, take it easy, you won already. Don't even start, man. Hey, guess what? I went to Bilzagon to show me his rare Pokemon. That added a lot of pages to my Pokedex. After all, Bill's world famous as a Pokemaniac. He invented the Pokemon storage system on PC too. Since you're using his system, you should go thank him. Well, you better get rolling. Smell you later. What a dick. Oh, yeah, right. I feel sorry for you. No, really, you're always plotting behind me. So, here, I'll give you a little present as a favor. He gave us the Fame Checker. A chatty gossip like you, that thing's perfect. I don't need it because I don't give a hoot about others. Alright, this time I really am gone. Smell ya! Just rubbing it in after that. Jeez. But yep. That battle was a lot rougher than I was anticipating. Oh man, that was a rough one. So, now that that battle has happened, our dear Rosie has fainted. And per the rules of this challenge, we can no longer use her. This is rough. This is so bad. Well, at the very least, you were a pretty good team member for the brief time that we knew you. if we did a little bit more training, we could have been able to save you, but I felt like we would be able to have a fine enough job in this battle without the extra few levels, but yeah, just kind of what you have to deal with in a Nuzlocke run. Just the simplest decisions can completely change the entire course of the run. And with that, it is the end of Rosie's time on the team. So yeah, that is pretty awful there. Yeah, I would prefer not to go into the next area with only 5 Pokemon. What have our 2 options here? Neither of these options are really going to be too good. You got a negative attack nature, but you evolve pretty quickly. Majestic is fine when it comes to its nature, but his ability is not what I would like him to have, and also his moves are really bad right now. I think right now we just need to persevere and try to get through this next section of the game as best we can. It is going to be rough, but that's what happens when you're doing a challenge run. Sometimes things don't go your way. Alright, so we may have lost Rosie, but it's probably not going to be the last we're going to see of her evolution line. I mean, we still have a chance of being able to catch her evolution later, so that could be pretty useful to us. But yeah, we're in a very tricky spot right now with that loss of our teammate. Okay, so now that all of that has just happened, we go into our key items just to show off the thing that we got from a rival. This thing is kind of interesting, just kind of gives you a bit of extra lore by being able to show a bunch of different things you're able to learn about the various main characters throughout the game. For example, just able to see from this bio on Professor Oak, what's this person like? To make a complete guide to all the Pokemon in the world. That was my dream. So it is able to record the dialogue said by various NPCs and forms a record of it on the Fame Checker, so you can get information on all those characters whenever you... Just having just a handy way to be able to reread information about those characters. So it is cool. It's not going to be useful for anything involving this run. But yeah, I really don't know what else to say right now. I am so bummed about losing our poor little Pidgey. Alright, Majestic, I need some cheering up right now, man. Do you got anything for us?
Well, I did not know the Pidgey known as Rosie for long, but I must say, of all the souls that I have met in my travels, hers was the most human.
Well said, man. Well said. Alright. So now that battle is over, we we can make our way up this route, and we can find ourselves on Route 24. So this area has a lot that we'll be able to do, so we want to try to get through as much of this we can. People call this the Nugget Bridge. Beat us 5 traders and win a fabulous prize. Think you've got what it takes? So yeah, while we aren't at the most optimal level to take on the gym, these next couple of routes we're going to be on have a lot of trainers that will be able to fight, and should give us a lot of opportunities to level up our Pokemon before we take on the gym here. And also going to give us an opportunity to level up Majestic, though we're probably not going to be using him too much, considering we do have the chance of acquiring some new Pokemon in the next couple of routes, and they would be very, very useful to this team should we acquire them. Alright, this Weedle, its only attack is going to be Poison Sting, which does, like, very little to Majestic here. So how about we actually have you deal with this thing?
Right, let us go for a ramp.
Alright, so this move is kind of interesting. It's what's known as a trapping move. So after that attack is used, the next couple of turns, the opponent will take damage at the end of each turn. And also the opponent is locked into the battle, so you are unable to switch them out. But yeah, there's really not much else to it. And really not much else to Majestic here. He does not have any other moves, and that's going to make using him very awkward for these next couple of battles. Yeah, I really don't see much use to keeping you in here right now. Even against a weak little Weedle, he's still not high enough level to be able to handle these things in a good way. That's why we got the rest of the team. So what are you thinking here, Zoe, after that last battle? Well, I mean, it's kind of rough that we lost another bird, so I didn't really get to know Rosie all that well since the last time we saw each other, but, you know, I'm gonna do my best to try and be the best bird that I can for her sake and for the rest of the team. Alright, very well put. Alright, so Fang is not going to be able to do too much to us, so just a nice opportunity to get some more experience here. Yeah, after how that last battle went, yeah, I'm not really certain how things are going to go from here. I'm going to try to do my best to make sure that we have a good time on the next couple of routes. But yeah, from this point on, the training wheels are off. It is very apparent now that our Pokemon are mortal, and that the slightest mistake can totally change the trajectory of this run. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting seeing how things are going to go from here. To be honest, I was probably considering putting Rosie in the box after Zoe gets a couple more levels in, just because they have a bit of type redundancy on the team. Also, I kind of prefer Spearow as an attacker over the Pidgey line for a few reasons. But still doesn't make what happened any less impactful. Just, man. So while we have a little bit of a break from the action here, also wanted to show, after we're healed up here, so in between the last sessions, I also decided to draw some art of our most recent catches. So, managed to drop a sketch of Zoe, Wilma, and Majestic. Definitely feel like I was able to capture their personalities quite well in this. Again, I really do like the designs of a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon, and at this point I can draw most of them by memory now, so very happy with how that sketch turned out. Hello there, Eva. I am not really certain how to pronounce your username, but welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good time here. We're just having a pretty interesting time in our FireRed Nuzlocke run so far. We just had one of our first deaths, and yeah, that's gonna completely change how things are gonna go here. We definitely need to be more careful in some of these battles coming up. I'm second, now it's serious. So the whole situation we have here with this bridge, this area is quite unique in that this is what's known as the Nugget Bridge. This area, we are being tested in just a sequence of battles where we got a lot of trainers we got to take out before we have access to the main route, as well as the other things we can do around here. But if we're able to clear out the trainers here, we should be able to get a pretty nice reward. So let's hope that we're able to get through here without any more trouble. Majestic learned Poison Sting, so that's at least going to be some damage we can do with him other than Wrap. And we got ourselves a new opponent here, which we have seen previously, Oddish. Yeah, not too worried about this one, but it does have Absorb, which is able to replenish its HP. Yeah, I don't feel like Majestic is going to have a good time with that one.
It seems to be a running trend in these battles that I am not good enough to be able to handle most of them. It's like some of my earliest auditions.
Good to know there. Yeah, luckily we have Zoe around to be able to handle most of the bug and grass type Pokemon we'll be seeing here. She is really good against these Pokemon. And we also got ourselves a Bellsprout to worry about. Yeah, I know at this point I could probably change the game over to Switch mode instead of Set mode, since I'm going to be doing a lot of Switch training here. But I don't feel like... Aw, crap, we got wrapped. Okay, Majestic, we need you to just hang in there while we try to weaken this thing.
Okay, I will endeavor to do my best. Ouch.
Alright, we should be good as long as this thing doesn't do too much damage to us. Just need to wait for the wrap to go away. Alright, we do not want to risk another attack at this point. So, let's heal you up. Just wait for Majestic to be free and then we can switch you out. Luckily, while we're using Wrap on this Bellsprout, that only traps the opponent. It doesn't trap us. So, yep, Majestic is freed from the Wrap, so now we can switch. Which is definitely a good option here. He is not prepared to be able to handle a lot of these opponents. Hopefully when we start making some more catches and I'll be able to train up the team a lot more, things are probably going to go a lot more smoothly. But for now, things are going to be quite rough. How could I lose? Well, for one thing, you had two Pokemon of the same type on your team. Not a whole lot of diversity there. But, you know, you were still a bit formidable. I know I'm going back to heal a bunch here, but considering how things went in the last major battle we had, I do not want to risk our team here. Especially one that I am only just now starting to train. In hindsight, I probably should have leveled up Majestic along with the rest of the team, but I wasn't planning on using him in this run, so... yeah, we just have to roll with the dice here. Here's number 3. I will be easy. Trust me, kid, I am well aware of how things are right now. And Timmy here's got himself a Sandshrew. Alright, that's a pretty good fight for us here. And just seeing these two Pokemon on the screen reminded me. Another tip to consider when doing Nuzlocke runs is also being able to keep in mind the exclusive Pokemon you can find between versions, as Sandshrew is a Pokemon that can only be caught in Leaf Green, whereas Ekans can only be caught in Fire Red. So keeping that in mind is definitely a good way to be able to plan out what you're going to be doing in your run, as well as just having a good idea on the various Pokemon you'll be able to catch. Okay, that was a bit of a nasty attack there. This guy's actually got a pretty good move since Bite is 60 base power. Don't worry, Majestic will get that strong eventually. So Wilma, hopefully this time we'll be able to get to show off Magnitude here. So Magnitude is a bit of an interesting attack in that its base power is dependent on which magnitude it is able to roll. It can be anywhere between magnitude 4 and 10, with 4 obviously being a very weak attack, and 10 basically being the equivalent of the move Earthquake, which is 100 base power. So yeah, this move can be really good or really bad depending on the situation. God, I do not like the flinches this Ekans is putting me through here. It's also a very nasty thing to have to deal with here, because, yeah, flinch is definitely a very nasty thing. Just being able to completely stop a Pokemon from being able to attack. So it can only work if you're faster than the opponent, which is definitely something to look out for, especially when you're using slower Pokemon like Geodude here. Ow! Stomped flat! Yes, you were. Do I need to heal up at the center? Yeah, kinda. No, we're just going back and forth between here right now, but I would rather save my healing items for a bit later. Considering how things are right now, yeah, this is gonna be... Alright, we should be ready for the next battle now. So typically, I tend to save my healing items until I'm going into the big battles. So, namely when I'm facing the gym leaders or rivals. But there are situations where using your items in regular battles are also good. So we got ourselves a Nidoran. That is a poison-type Pokemon. So, Wilma's a pretty good bet here. There is something we do need to watch out for, though, and that's the fact that this Pokemon is able to learn an attack called Double Kick, which is a fighting type. And obviously, that's not very good against Wilma. Or most of our team, for that matter. Alright, what are we gonna do here? So it's probably not going to go for Double Kick against Majestic, since fighting isn't strong against poison. So we'll switch into Wilma and see what happens. Alright, it's going for Peck. That's gonna not do much damage. Okay, it's going for Leer. So I have to pray that Magnitude's able to do good damage here. 8! Alright, that is really good. That should definitely one-shot you. There we go. And got another level up for Majestic. Huzzah! And we got ourselves a female Nidoran. Normally I take this opportunity to switch over to Majestic, but I would rather just kill this thing as soon as possible. Magnitude 6. Okay, that's pretty decent. Ooh, it's barely not enough to finish you. But at this point, I think Majestic would be able to actually handle you at this point. There's really not much this Nidoran should be able to do to Majestic here, so we'll be good. There's a little bit of a difference between the different Nidoran here. So female Nidoran are more defensive, while the male Nidoran are more offensive. Besides that, they are pretty similar, both being poison types that eventually evolve into poison ground types. I lost 2! Yes, you did. Okay, I know what this next person is going to use on his team. Majestic, I am going to swap you out for Zoe, just because, yeah, I do not want to risk a bad hit here. Let's go for this guy. Okay, I'm number 5. I'll stomp you. So last opponent over here is Camper Ethan, and he's got a Mankey. Yeah, this thing is going to be, wow, it's level 18. That's definitely going to be rough for us. Come on, Zoe, let's do the best we can here. Oh, I don't like that defense drop. Come on. All right, one more hit should do it. Let's pray. It's going for Fury Swipes. Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Not good. Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, if that thing got 4 or 5 hits in, that would have definitely killed Zoe. God damn. Whoa, too much. Screw you, kid. That was a rough one. Ooh, man. With that, we actually managed to clear all the trainers here on the Nugget Bridge. Alright. Let's quickly head back to the center and heal up the team, because Zoe definitely needs it after that last fight. I do not want to end this session with 2 deaths, if I can help it. Alright, with that taken care of, let us quickly make our way back to the end of the Nugget Bridge. So now that we are finally done with those guys, we can go claim our prize at the end of this road. Let's see what we got here. Congratulations! You beat our 5 contest trainers! You just earned a fabulous prize! And we receive a nugget. That is an item we can sell at the stores for a good amount of money, so that was definitely worth it. By the way, how would you like to join Team Rocket? We're a group of professional criminals specializing in Pokemon. Want to join? Are you sure? Come on, join us! I'm telling you to join! Okay, you need convincing. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse! So it turns out this entire bridge challenge here was merely an operation that Team Rocket is using in order to scout out potential new team members. Yeah, that's quite nasty. These guys are definitely very underhanded here. Definitely emphasize just how awful these guys are. It's like we obviously got a bit of that from what we saw back in Mount Moon. But yeah, it just continues showing off just how rotten these guys are. And the fact that they were able to get these poor kids involved by saying that it was just like a fun game. Oh man, these guys are so twisted. Obviously, there are a lot of other Pokemon villains in the series that tend to go in a lot of different places in terms of their villainy. Like, I talked about it a lot during my Pokemon Black streams over on Twitch, that I feel that Team Plasma are some of the best villains the series has ever had. But you know, Team Rocket's still pretty formidable for the most part. Ah, you're good. Enough to crush this guy. Your ability, you become a top leader in Team Rocket. Come on, think of the opportunity. Don't let this chance go to waste. This guy wasn't able to sway us to his side. And now we can finally access the rest of Route 24. I saw your feet from the grass. I don't know how I feel about you looking at my feet, sir. Alright. So this guy... Khalifa is pretty good against Rattata here. There is still something we need to watch out for with these guys. Whoop! Yep, critical hit. I am not even going to play with that. Wilma, get in here. Yeah, this is definitely something we're going to need to watch out when using Khalifa. Because she is a very strong Pokemon, but she's also pretty frail. And a lot of normal types tend to hit pretty hard. So we'll definitely need to consider that when we're going through the rest of this run. There's a lot of matchups where things can go pretty wrong for us if we make the wrong call. See here, it's definitely why I really wish I got Intimidate on Majestic. Because getting that attack drop on an opponent would be really good. It'd definitely be something that would make me consider using Majestic more seriously in this run, but we don't have that here. I thought not. I hid because the people on the bridge frightened me. It's not them you gotta worry about, it's the Team Rocket recruiter. Okay, so now we took care of that. We can now head into the grass here and get ourselves a new encounter. And there's quite a few interesting things we should be able to do. There's Kakuna here, which we already have Weedle, so we're not going to catch this one. But yeah, of our potential catches we can get in this area, so in FireRed you're able to get an Oddish here, and if you're playing Leaf Green you can get Bellsprout, which I'm only mentioning because we had already previously encountered these Pokemon on some trainers. But another Pokemon you can find on these routes that is really good is a Pokemon called Abra. And like I said before when we were fighting our rival, this Pokemon is a kind of off in terms of usability just because its only attack it gets by level up is Teleport, which causes it to escape from a battle, but is pretty useless when going up against trainers. And really not a good use of the Pokemon's large attack and speed stats. But what you want for this Pokemon is that when it eventually evolves, it becomes one of the best attackers in the game. It is really tricky to raise it up, but when you do, it is phenomenal. Much like the Magikarp that I talked about in the previous session. Oh, Pidgey. That makes me sad. Alright, don't expect too much trouble from this thing, so we'll let Whiskers have a shot at this thing. There we go. Nice to know our Rattata's still a very strong Pokemon at this point. And depending on how things go, I would definitely like to see Whiskers get stronger and become a more useful team member. I mean, she's still pretty good, but, you know, I want all my Pokemon to get even better. Especially with what we got coming up. Alright, can we get something useful over here? Caterpie. Alright, I guess this is our catch now. I mean, Caterpie is not bad. It's definitely more of a support Pokemon in that it gets a lot of status moves. And it's also fairly unique in that it has access to a lot of Psychic-type attacks by level up. But for the most part, yeah, it's really not the best because it has some pretty low stats. But it can still be a pretty useful Pokemon once it is fully evolved. I actually used a Butterfree back in my Leaf Green streams when I was streaming that over on Twitch. And yeah, it was a pretty good teammate for the first half of the game. So you never know, this one could have some potential. Caterpie, the worm Pokemon. It's covered with a green skin. When it grows, it sheds the skin, covers itself with silk, and becomes a cocoon. Alright, so Caterpie here. You are a female, and that obviously reminds me of a Caterpie, well, Butterfree, I mean, that I had in my first ever Nuzlocke run. So we're gonna call you Shelly. Alright, so that's it for our catches here on Route 24. However, there is another area we can see over here that'll be very useful to us. So we pick up TM45. So that is a TM for a move called Attract, which can be a pretty interesting move. So what that move does is it's only effective against Pokemon of the opposite gender of the Pokemon using it, but it will entrance the opponent and make them unable to act on their turns. And yeah, just a pretty interesting move for being able to shut down your opponents. You do need to consider the fact that the attack will only be effective on Pokemon of the opposite gender, so in certain battles, it's just not going to be very good. Oh, you're a quirky nature. That's actually pretty decent for you. Yeah, probably gonna try to train up the little caterpillars, considering how things are at this point. Just to make sure that we have some more potential Pokemon that could be useful to us if things really go south. But, yep, we should be pretty good there. So now that we dealt with that, we can head over here. And that gives us access to Route 25. A new area for us to be able to encounter, believe it or not, some more Pokemon. So, Route 24 and 25 have pretty much the exact same encounter tables. So, anything we can get on Route 24, we can also find here. Like a Caterpie. So yep, we're just going to take this opportunity to look around for any potential new encounters here, while we are taking care of some of the things in this area. Some stuff we can talk about. Well, until that battle against our rival, I was having a pretty good day. So this is my day off after a 3-day work period, so that was pretty exhausting. And decided to treat myself to some ribs over at Montana's, and oh man, it was so good. I always like to get the pork ribs because they're just so tender and juicy. So yep, that was a pretty fun lunch. Had a good time of that. And so I've been playing a game that came out a couple months ago called Pokemon the Trading Card Game Pocket, which is definitely a quite interesting way of getting to experience a lot of stuff involving the card game. For someone who has had the cards pretty much ever since he was a kid and actually started to begin collecting cards again, although it has definitely been very rough these days since pretty much everyone has just been buying up the cards and scalping them for profit, and yeah, it's just been very nasty. If someone is just a casual collector, yeah, I really am not very happy about that. So, having TCG Pocket is definitely a nice way for me to be able to vicariously experience the joys of collecting cards without, you know, actually physically going out and getting them. And it's been a pretty fun time so far with some of the stuff. I've honestly gotten a pretty good selection of cards from the last couple of months that I have been actually using the game. And very recently, they released a new set where the main gimmick for that one is that it has a lot of shiny Pokemon cards. Sadly, I haven't obtained any of the shiny Pokemon yet, but I am hoping that eventually I do, because, my god, just this card game is just... It's just really fun to get that a bit of rush every time you see a new card and getting to add that to your collection, you know? It's always been one of my favorite aspects of just collecting the Pokemon cards. Especially because I love all the artwork that they have on the cards, too. It's always been my favorite aspect. Just seeing all the different artwork and getting to see a little bit of the contributions that people make into this series when it comes to portraying a lot of different Pokemon. And there's definitely been a lot of good art that has been released on the TCG Target. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed about this poison here. I just got 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Yep, we're easily going to be able to get to the Pokemon Center. Alright, let's heal out Khalifa. It's such a shame you had to take a dose of that poison. But it's all good. All healed up, and we're ready to go. God, I would really like it if Majestic would get Bite, just because that's a better damaging move right now. But we do have to wait a little while before he's able to learn that. And, you know, just become a better Pokemon in general. Sorry for ragging on this thing, because I really like the Ekans family aesthetically. Oh, we got Oddish. So that could be a nice backup if something were to happen to Bulbo.
Hey, don't jinx it.
This could be very nice for us indeed. Always been quite a fan of the Oddish family, especially with the fact that it has a split evolution line, though we're most likely not going to be able to get to experience one of its potential evolution routes in this game, given how tough it is to acquire that specific item for it. But at least the route that we do have is still pretty good. Yeah, this is a pretty basic grass poison type, all things considered. Pretty good at damage, has some decent defenses to it. It's much more of a support Pokemon, given its massive surplus of status moves that it has to be able to impair your opponent's team. But still a decent battler in its own right, because it gets some pretty nice and powerful attacks later down its evolution line. Definitely a very nice Pokemon you want to add to your team. And if you didn't pick Bulbasaur as a starter, then I can definitely recommend this thing. Definitely going to be very nice. Especially if you pick Charmander, because having a grass type is really good for handling your rival's water type starter. So yeah, that's easily a way I could recommend having Oddish on board. What I would really like to try and get is Abra. That thing is a bit nasty to try to catch, for obvious reasons, but man, when you manage to get it, it is so freaking good. So I actually have used the Abra line in a few Nuzlocke runs, and for the most part, yeah, they've just been really solid Pokemon with their really high speed and just devastating attack potential. They are so good. But you do need to watch out for, obviously, them having low HP and defenses. But when used in the right circumstances, they are so good. Alright, with that, we managed to catch ourselves an Oddish. This guy reminds me a lot of a certain fellow. Oddish, the weed Pokemon. Its scientific name is Odium wandaris. At night, it's said to walk nearly 1,000 feet on its 2 roots. It's one of the few Pokemon that actually has a scientific name, which is quite interesting. But yeah, this fellow is reminding me a lot of a certain Oddish that I caught back in my Emerald Nuzlocke. So welcome back, Raditz.
Wait, what the hell?
Alright, now that we dealt with that, let's go patch up the team a bit, and then we can finally get started on clearing out this route here. Alright, I'm kind of wondering at this point if I want to swap Majestic out for Raditz here. It's probably not going to be required for us to double down on grass, despite the fact that we're going into a water gym as our next big challenge here. But you are higher level than Raditz. I mean, you're higher level than Majestic. Yeah, I've got some decent power to you. And you're able to just poison anyone you want with poison powder there. So that's nice. You would be a bit easier to use at the moment compared to Majestic. Sorry, buddy.
Well, I guess that it is the end for this performance. But know that there will always be an encore for Majestic.
Great talking to you, buddy. Okay, Raditz. This guy is mainly gonna be on support right now, but he could still see some good use depending on how things go. It's gonna be a little while before this guy is gonna be really strong, but for now he's gonna be a nice little addition to this team as we prepare for what's to come. Got ourselves our gym that we need to do, and still got a whole route of trainers we gotta deal with. Alright, so I guess we'll be focusing on this for the remainder of the stream. And just because it's gonna be quite a while in order to go back and forth between areas, we're probably not going to be heading back to the Pokemon Center unless we really need to for this next section here. Alright, so with all of our catches we need to do before the gym concluded, it's time to face all of these trainers around here.
I just got down from Mount Moon, but I still got gas in the tank.
TMI, man. Hey, it's Franklin. He's got himself a Machop. Oh boy, this thing. That's a fighting type Pokemon, much like a Leafbot. This thing can be quite nasty. I do not want to use poison powder on this thing for a very good reason. But for you, Zoe has the best attack power against this thing, but this thing is also very powerful. So Machop here is a fighting type Pokemon that obviously excels at attacking. Its physical attack is really good, it's got some decent bulk to it, and some pretty powerful attacks in its move pool as well. So this guy I'm going to play more defensively using my Poison-type Pokemon to be able to resist its hits as much as possible. Now, I would take this opportunity to poison this Machop, except the fact that I know what this thing's ability is. This Pokemon has the ability Guts, meaning that if it is affected by a negative status ailment, its attack power will be boosted, making it even deadlier. Sort of a interesting thing that makes you want to be more careful with how you use your status moves against opponents, because sometimes you'll just be powering up your opponent when you're trying to impede them. And yeah, that can obviously be pretty rough. But Raditz definitely been holding his own thanks to having Absorb. Being able to recover HP from opponents is definitely a very nice thing he has going for him. Alright, so this one should be very easy for Raditz to deal with, because it's just a Geodude. This should be very easy for him to take out. Yeah, I've handled a lot of these things back in Hoenn, So we're gonna have a pretty good time here. And then I am gonna get nice and strong so we'll be able to conquer this planet. Oh good, it's that Raditz.
You worked hard.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Alright, Raditz recovering all of his health. Yeah, you can definitely see why this Pokemon tends to be pretty helpful.
You're gonna see Bill? First, we battle.
I definitely really like the draining attacks. Some of my favorites just because being able to do damage to opponents and also passively recover HP is such a tremendous boon. I love it so much. Okay, that Onix there used Screech to lower defenses by a lot. So something to keep in mind with status moves is that with the stat affecting attacks, there are certain tiers that they're able to affect a Pokemon's stats. So a move like Tail Whip would lower Pokemon's defense one stage. However, an attack like Screech is able to lower a Pokemon's defense by 2 stages. So definitely keeping in mind what your Pokemon's stats are at after the stat drop is very important for their survivability. If you lose track of how much damage they've taken, that can be really rough. Okay. So next bout coming up, I think we'll lead with Khalifa here. There are a few Pokemon I still want to watch out for in this area, but we should have a pretty good time here. Local trainers come here to practice. Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of people in this area, buddy. It's got youngster Joey! And look at that, he's got his top percentage Rattata with him. Alright, so we should have an easier time here than against some of our other opponents, hopefully. God, the fact this thing is still pretty fast. I mean, it's got quick attacks, so naturally it's able to outspeed us. But even Khalifa can struggle at some points. Ooh, Spearow. Yeah, this one, it's a good thing we still have Wilma. I swear, if we lost Wilma against our rival, that would have sucked so much. She's pretty much one of our most important Pokemon we're going to need in this gym challenge. She is really good against a lot of the later gyms coming up. Definitely want to keep her on hand. Alright, that takes care of that Spearow. And that takes care of Joey. You're decent. Like, wow. That is the most lukewarm compliment I have ever received in this game so far. Just, you're decent. Yippee. I sure feel decent about that. All Pokemon have weaknesses, even the strongest ones. That's why best to raise Pokemon of different types. Indeed. So I'm not really demonstrating that here with my current team, but another good thing to consider in Nuzlocke runs, try to have as diverse of a team as possible. That took me to a great party on the SSN of Vermilion City. Because depending on how diverse your team is, you could end up in a situation where just one trainer can completely shut down your entire team. And obviously that is bad. You do not want to ever end up in a situation where a single Pokemon will just wipe you out. Ooh. Alright, so we definitely got this to deal with. It is very risky to use Bulbo or Raditz against this thing. Guess we're gonna just stick to using Whiskers. So this Pokemon we're facing here is Slowpoke. It is a Water Psychic type Pokemon. Definitely pretty strong and has some good bulk to it. And it may sound kind of weird, but it's actually among some of my favorite Pokemon in the entire series. Just, I don't know, it's just so dopey looking. And it's actually a really good battler. It's gonna be a while before we get an opportunity to... Actually, that thing is version exclusive, so we're not gonna be able to catch it in this game. Bummer. But, you know, it's still a good Pokemon. Has a lot of good power, great offensive and defensive typing. Yeah, it's definitely one I can recommend. You do have to watch out because, as its name implies, it's very slow. But it is still a tremendously useful Pokemon. definitely a good one. Hi, my boyfriend is cool. Ah, good to hear. See what you got here, Kelsey. Got a male Nidoran. So I'm not too worried about this thing, even if it does have a flying type attack. Khalifa should still be able to handle you. Yep, just one Mega Kick took you out. Very good. And we got a female Nidoran. Here we go, 2 for 2. Come on, knock it out. Aw. I mean, that's to be expected. Female Nidoran are much more defensive, so yeah, that makes sense. Let's go save our Mega Kicks and go for Karate Chop. It's gonna do not very effective damage, but it's nice to be able to conserve our power points going forward. Just because that's such a powerful attack, you know? And with that, we get a level up on Khalifa. My conditioning isn't the best. You still did your best. You know, you gotta diverse your team up a bit, but, you know, you're doing good. I got another hiker, so this will be a good opportunity for Bulbo to get some experience.
I'm off to see a Pokemaniac's collection at the cave.
Ah, that should be... Yeah, we did hear from a rival that... I love this guy's name, Hiker Knob. Such a funny name. Why would they give that to this guy? Yeah, we did hear from a rival that there is a Pokemaniac who lives in this area by the name of Bill. So we'll probably want to go talk to him in order to figure out some things and hopefully open up the way to some new opportunities for us. This guy's definitely got a lot of Pokemon with him. Alright, for this guy, we'll actually put you to sleep. So we don't have to worry about guts when this guy's asleep. Very good. Yeah, when it comes to status moves to use in Nuzlocke runs, obviously, sleep is one of the best ones. Very useful. I'd also recommend the paralyzing attacks, as not only do those give your opponents only a chance to be able to attack, it also cuts their speed in half, which is really useful in a lot of situations. And Poison, of course, whittles down the opponent's health every turn. And Burn also does a similar effect, but also can lower the attack stat of the opponent. Sadly, it being frozen is probably the worst of the different status moves, just because it is so rare to pull off, because there are very few Pokemon that have ice attacks by level up. And there's no move that is just guaranteed freeze. You have to just get that status by chance, depending on the attack being used. So yeah, it's definitely the least reliable of the different status moves. Well, status conditions. But, you know, if you ever get to pull it off, it's very nice to just completely shut down an opponent by freezing them. Alright, this guy's just got an Ekans left. Stop rubbing it in with the Intimidate! God, that ability is so good. It's why you see Pokemon like Incineroar still receive a lot of use in the competitive scene. It's just such a great ability. Bam! Alright, good work, Wilma. Ah, darn! Yeah, that's certainly darn-worthy. So let's go heal up our Rock Lady. And, thankfully, by moving this guy down, it opens up the path over here, allowing us to grab Secret Power. So this is a pretty interesting TM. So Secret Power is a base 70 attack that can have additional effects that vary on the terrain. So additional effects are different things that can happen when you use an attack, like being able to poison the opponent with Poison Sting, being able to make the opponent flinch with Bite. So being able to trigger those effects can be very helpful to you. And Secret Power, the way that move works is that depending on the environment that you're currently fighting someone, that will trigger a different effect. So it is very unique compared to a lot of the other Pokemon we have, well, a lot of the different attacks we have seen here. I had this feeling. I knew I had to battle you. Yeah, I just kind of feel like using Rattata would be a good idea against this guy. Chad over here. Oh, we got ourselves a Chad. And of course he's got an Ekans. I was thinking he had a different Pokemon, but we might see that elsewhere on his team. Yeah, for now we're doing pretty well here. Let's go for a quick attack to finish you off. Very good. And then we got Sandshrew. Okay, I definitely thought he was going to use another Pokemon on his team, but yeah, this is fine. Alright, Raditz should be able to handle the Sandshrew here. It's buffing its defenses, which is no trouble for you because you're a special attacker. Drain it of its essence! I knew I'd lose too! Oh, such a shame for you, buddy. Alright, there's a few hidden items we can find over here. Got a Bluckberry. That's a type of berry that's actually not going to be useful to us. That's more of a multiplayer exclusive berry, believe it or not. Alright, we got one more trainer over here, and then we should be good. My friend has many cute Pokemon. I'm so jealous. Alright, see what you got here? Last Haley. And, of course, we got an Oddish, we got a Jout. Well, that's fine. So while we're dealing with this battle here, what is something else we can talk about? So pretty recently, one of my friends has been streaming the first Ape Escape game, and it's been pretty fun watching his playthrough of that game. Especially because I only have very few memories of playing the first Ape Escape when I rented that as a kid. And eventually when we got the PS2, I eventually got to experience the sequel, Ape Escape 2. And my god, I was so obsessed with that game when I was a kid. I just absolutely loved it. Managed to 100% it, both in the main story as Jimmy and in the hard mode as Spike. That's how much I really enjoyed the game. And yeah, these days I've been really meaning to try to track down a copy of Ape Escape 2 so I can get to play it again. As sadly, that's one of the few PS2 games of my childhood that we didn't keep. So yeah, I'll definitely want to be on the lookout for trying to find a copy at some point. That could be very helpful to us. I'm not so jealous. Alright, managed to take out that battle, and should be the last battle we need to worry about in this area. So over here we got Cerulean Cape. This cape is a famous date spot. Missy the gym leader has high hopes about this place. Hello, you're here alone? If you're out at Cerulean's Cape, well, it should be as a couple. This area has a bit more significance in Pokemon Gold and Silver, believe it or not. as this is the area where you would find Misty on a date with someone and you totally interrupt the date, which is what triggers her wanting to engage you in battle at the Cerulean Gym. Quite interesting that they would hint at that here at this point. Now time to check out Bill's laboratory here. Aw, it's a Clefairy! Hiya, I'm a Pokemon. No, I'm not. Call me Bill. I'm a true blue Pokemaniac. Hey, what's with that skeptical look? I'm not joshing you, lady. I screwed up an experiment and got combined with a Pokemon. So how about it? Help me out here. Well, seems like someone's been playing Pokemon Infinite Fusion. Wait till I get inside the teleporter. When I do, go to my PC and run the cell separation system. So yeah, wasn't expecting to see a reference to the Fly of all things here in Pokemon, but this is what's happened. He initiated the teleporter cell separator. And now Bill goes back to being a normal human again. Yeah! Thanks, lady! I owe you one. So, did you come to see my Pokemon collection? You didn't? That's a bummer. Gotta thank you. Oh, here, maybe this'll do. And we receive an SS ticket for helping Bill. That cruise ship SSN is in Vermilion City. I hear there are lots of trainers on board, too. They invited me to their party, but I can't stand fancy dues. Why don't you go instead of me? Go on and have a good time. So that, believe it or not, unlocks something for us that'll be quite interesting down the line. And this will also unlock a new thing for us to be able to do. As, unlike in Pewter City where defeating the gym is a big trigger for being able to continue the story, here you need to talk to Bill and get the SSN ticket to be able to advance in the story. As we can see here, the copper is no longer blocking the door to this house. And we're gonna want to investigate that. And not gonna lie, I'm feeling a bit exhausted right now, especially after what happened earlier in this session, so this will probably be the last thing we're gonna do in this session before we call things here for the night. It's definitely been an interesting one. Alright, given what I know that this guy is most likely gonna have, what are we gonna do for our team here? Let's go to Zoe. Oh boy, this place definitely got roughed up bad. Team Rocket must be trying to dig their way into no good. Those miserable Rockets! Look what they've done in my house! They stole a TM for teaching Pokemon how to dig holes. I was gonna use it on a Mankey or a Sandshrew. That cost me a bundle, it did. So yeah, we got ourselves quite the unique situation here. And wouldn't you know it, the culprit is just waiting outside. What is wrong with these people? Hey, stay out! It's not your yard! Huh, me? I'm an innocent bystander. Don't you believe me? Buddy, I have had a pretty rough day. I am gonna take all my frustrations out on you here. Alright, got himself Machop versus our Zoe. Should be a... yeah, that's not too good there. Yeah, we're definitely not gonna out-damage this guy. Sorry, Zoe. So, of our potential options, I feel like Bulbo would be our next bet here. So we can easily put this Machop to sleep and then just hammer away at it with Vine Whip. But I am more concerned with what's going to be the next Pokemon that this guy is going to send out. As one of our best Pokemon is not going to be too useful against that one. But it'll be a nice final challenge for this session. Yeah, this Machop here, a little bit of a pain, but nothing too bad. And Bulbo's getting himself another level up. And our next opponent here is Drowsy. So this thing is a psychic type, much like the Abra that we saw before, except this one can actually attack. This thing can be quite nasty. It's a pretty decent attacker overall, but it's much more of a defensive Pokemon, believe it or not. But we should be pretty good here. Yeah, this thing definitely has a lot of tricky attacks, like using Disable, which can completely stop you from using the last attack that your Pokemon used in battle. These things can be rough. But trust me when I say I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to add one to our team. Stop! I give up! I'll leave quietly! So with that, we are done here. Okay, I'll return the TM I stole. And that we get TM 28. I better get moving. Bye! So for that, we got ourselves a pretty nice move here. So Dig is a ground type attack that burrows your Pokemon into the ground on the first turn and then strikes on the second one. And it also has the ability to basically function like an escape rope. This move is also pretty interesting because a lot of different Pokemon can learn it, not just ground types, as you can clearly see here. Definitely one we'll consider for later, especially concerning a certain battle that is coming up. But yeah, just want to quickly show off over here. Now that we have dealt with all of that involved in the grunt, this opens up a bunch of new pathways for us. And some more opportunities, believe it or not, to catch some more Pokemon. Considering how things are right now, yeah, we can try to encounter one more Pokemon before we end things here. So I know we didn't get to challenge the gym in this session, but just want to make sure that our team is optimally prepared for what's ahead. So we can go down these ledges over to Route 5, and we'll see what we're able to get. Not you, we already have an Oddish. Not too worried if Zoe gets hit by this thing, because its offensive options really aren't that good against birds. Yeah, depending on what else is going to show up on this route would be pretty interesting. Because I know of one particular Pokemon that can be found here, and it would actually be quite nice to have for a number of reasons. Especially because I had a pretty good experience with it back in a Leaf Green Nuzlocke I did years ago. Over here on the grass, if we're able to search, we can find this guy! Meowth! So this is a normal type Pokemon, and one that should be familiar to a lot of people who have experienced the Pokemon franchise. Especially for people who watch the anime, because Meowth was a major antagonist in that show. Yeah, this guy could be quite useful to us. As like most normal type Pokemon, it has access to a lot of different strategies that can be pretty damn helpful to you. It's very fast, and yeah, just overall a pretty nice Pokemon if we could get you in here. There we go. Meowth, the Scratch Cat Pokemon. All it does is sleep during the daytime. At night, it patrols its territory with its eyes aglow. Alright, so now that we got our buddy here, what are we going to call you? There's certainly a lot of different names we could give this guy. Thinking back about my history with using the Meowth line in my previous runs, the main one I used was a female, so don't really have a good name like that here. Just trying to think of characters associated with felines. Alright, I got an idea. So we're going to call you Oliver, as a reference to a movie I used to watch a lot when I was a kid called Oliver and Company. Alright, so with that, I feel like we are about done here. Some other stuff we could go over before we're truly done here. So we go into this room. I run the daycare service. Would you like me to raise one of your Pokemon? So pretty much you can deposit one of your Pokemon with this guy, and for every step you take, that equals 1 experience point that Pokemon will receive. So it's a nice way to be able to train up a lower level Pokemon to give them some additional levels. We're probably not going to rely on this guy, but, you know, it's a nice little thing to consider when being in this area. But yeah, with that said, it's a bit of a shorter session compared to our other ones, but I'm getting a little tired. And we still got a bit of training to do before we're ready to take on the Cerulean Gym, because, yeah, we do not want to go into this one unprepared. So let's check on our most recent catch, and then we will call things here. So our buddy Oliver here is actually holding a nugget! Ooh, that is very nice! So yeah, the reason this guy has a nugget is because he has the ability Pickup. That gives this Pokemon the ability to passively pick up items. Oh man. Also, I just think in general, Meowth has a very rare chance of spawning with a nugget. I think that's also something to note there. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking we could train up Oliver. He'd be a pretty decent party member for us. But yeah, with that said, I think we're about done here. Definitely want to train up our Pokemon for the next session. And considering how things are going to be, we'll probably have our next session a little later this week, because I do have some things going on around the middle of the week that are going to be a bit exhausting for me to deal with. But yep, next time we jump into Pokemon FireRed, we will definitely be taking on the Cerulean City Gym, and then seeing what else we can do around the Kanto region. Alright, so with that said, thank you for joining me on this leg of our adventure, and I'll see you next time.